Ms. Nobles, Republicans on this committee or any of Republican staff exploit you in any way to come to today's hearing?
No, I am not being forced to be here.
It's insulting that you would say that to these families, that you would make an assumption that they're being used or exploited anyway. So it's insulting. No, please don't speak over me, because I'm still talking.
Okay.
I'm not done. I have the mic. I have the floor. I have the floor. If you want to answer me, you ask.
Has the time.
We want solutions.
That's
so
what
do
I
not,
just
I'm still
talked
talking.
about.
So please don't.
I just talked
don't
about
make an assumption. Don't make an assumption that we're being used. That is insulting.
Gentleman yields back. Gentlelady from Texas is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I first want to also express my profound condolences to each and every one of you who've suffered loss. I have 2 kids. I'm a mom. I would do anything for my kids, and I cannot imagine the grief of losing a loved one in such a tragic way. So I want you to know how much I respect the courage that it took for you to be here today, to share your grief and your pain. I represent El Paso, Texas, an incredible community right on the US-Mexico border. I'm the only member of this committee who actually lives on the border, raised her kids on the border. I'm a 3rd-generation border resident. And there is no one who wants to modernize our outdated laws more than those of us who live on the border. We are the families that have for decades been trying to help the federal government treat people with dignity and humanity. And we have long been asking for reform. I think what is most frustrating to me as a member of Congress is what is happening today at this committee hearing, where we have colleagues who are exploiting people's pain for political purposes. And unfortunately, that's what's happening today. The finger pointing at the administration by members of Congress is frustrating to me as a member of Congress because we are the ones who write the laws. It is legislators who are responsible to write the laws around immigration, around border policy, and it is up to legislators to adequately fund the resources necessary. I can tell you that I have been pushing a bipartisan comprehensive immigration reform bill that addresses outdated border policies and that addresses migration and immigration together. There are 8 Republicans who've had the courage to join that bill. None of them are on this committee. And that bill cannot move because of the obstacles put in front of that. The administration has tried and asked over and over again for adequate resources. They've been hamstrung by obstacles put in the way, preventing those resources from getting to where they need to be. Mr. Ivey mentioned a Senate bill so draconian, I could not have voted for it. It was enforcement only. It was, to me, not workable because it was so focused, again, only on enforcement. But it wasn't Democrats who stood in the way of that. It was the folks on the other side of the aisle who torpedoed what was the most border hardening bill ever written. And that's what Republicans called it. And with regard to, Mr. Ivey, you mentioned wanting solutions, and one of our colleagues mentioned H.R. 2. I know you're aware of this, but their bill, H.R. 2, relies almost exclusively on Mexico. And if Mexico wasn't doing the job that they're determining needed to be done in H.R. 2, H.R. 2 was a fantasy. It wouldn't do anything. My point is this. When There were mass shootings, including, as Ms. Lopez mentioned, a mass shooting in El Paso, Texas, by a white supremacist. 23 people shot and murdered in cold blood with an assault-style weapon, traumatizing an entire community. We held hearings that were linked to solutions. We wanted to solve the issue. We wanted to bring resolution. We wanted to find a path forward so that people wouldn't live with the kind of pain that communities like ours that have lived through mass shootings had to live through. There really, truly, there is very little interest on the other side of working in a bipartisan way to find meaningful solutions. You all deserve that. Our country deserves that. And there are those of us in Congress fighting to get to those bipartisan solutions because we don't want to see families living in pain. We don't want you to endure the loss. We don't want anyone else to endure the loss that you all have endured. I and other colleagues are going to continue to work on those bipartisan solutions because that's what our country deserves. I hope you will join us in fighting for those bipartisan solutions because it's long past time that we get there. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Ms. Nobles, did Republicans on this committee, Ms. Nobles, Republicans on this committee or any of Republican staff exploit you in any way to come to today's hearing?
No, I am not being forced to be here. I am here because I want to be here and I want changes to be made and I'm fighting for here for my daughter. And I can't speak for everyone else, but I'm sure the other witnesses weren't even forced to be here either and they want to because they love their children.
In fact, my understanding is our Republican staff helped you get answers to the murder of your daughter that you didn't get from anywhere else. Our staff helped get that information by
Yes,
going to DHS.
you have. Yeah, yes.
How about you,
have.
Ms. Morin? Did you feel exploited in any way? That's what the Democrats just said.
No, I don't feel exploited.
You're here to tell your story about what's going on out there. Ms.
Yes.
Nungary?
No, I do not feel exploited. I simply want to raise awareness that we need change, and my daughter's voice and her memory should not get lost in that.
Well said. Ms. Funder?
No, I don't feel exploited in any way. As a matter of fact, I find it very interesting that all 5 minutes for both of your testimonies on the left have not had any questions for us up here, but instead a speech. And I will tell you, I'm getting tired of hearing about the most comprehensive border bill, which did nothing for for American citizens. It gave visas to people who needed to extend their visas, and it gave asylum to people coming over, and it did zero for an American citizen. And I would love somebody to answer to me what it actually did for American citizens. It did not do anything for an American citizen.
Ms. Aguirre? Ms. Aguirre?
It's insulting that you would say that to these families, that you would make an assumption that they're being used or exploited anyway. You know, what I will do is I'll give you my number. It's 281-673-0736, and I'd like a phone call from you to see what you can do to help these families, because every single week I get bombarded with calls from victims all over the United States, but I'm just a small person with a small foundation that helps people here locally in Houston and Harris County. Not one time when her daughter was murdered and I was helping her navigate the criminal justice system did one Democrat call me to offer their assistance. It was only Republicans, and I am an independent. I vote both ways. So it's insulting. No, please don't speak over me, because I'm still talking.
Okay. Responding to your
I'm not done.
invitation
I have the
to
mic. I have the
talk.
floor. I have the floor. If you want to answer me, you
Chair
ask.
has the time, and the witness is allowed to
So
respond.
I'm asking, you said some very broad statements. It's insulting. These people lost loved ones. They lost children. And we want to see a difference. We may not understand everything that's going on, but I assure you that we're not being used in any way. And if today somebody calls that number that wants to help from any side of the aisle, we want solutions.
That's
So
what
do
I
not,
just
I'm still
talked
talking.
about.
The
So
time-
please don't.
I just talked
Don't
about
make an
belongs-
assumption.
Ma'am.
Don't make an assumption that we're being used.
The time-
That is insulting.